What is up, my friends? Back with another epic Q&A for Carbon Diet Coach, and I'm going to be answering your burning questions about all things nutrition and training. Or, you know what, if you want to ask me a question that you've always wanted to know that is not nutrition and training based, hell, give it a shot. Let's see what's going on. I'll be happy to answer them. So, you guys want to pop those questions in there and we'll get after it. I got my diet soda ready to go here. In honor of our friend yesterday who I roasted, who claimed that diet sodas make you depressed. How do we store fat without insulin? Very easy. One sec. How do we store fat without insulin? Well, first off, what you have to understand is insulin is not an all or nothing switch, all right? Nothing in metabolism is all or nothing. I see you, John. What's going on, baby? Nothing in metabolism works like that. It's not like either on or off. On, off, on, off. No, that is not how metabolism works. Let me just roll myself back in here. That's not how metabolism works. Metabolism is more like dimmer switches, all right? So even you don't ever have no insulin. That's called type 1 diabetes. There's always a basal level of insulin present. If there wasn't, you would have really high blood sugar. Now, if you are at a baseline level of insulin, the way you can store fat, even without an increase, a postprandial increase in insulin, is by a protein called ACP, or acylating protein, which does not require an increase in insulin to store fat in adipose tissue. So this idea that, if you just keep your insulin low, you'll never gain fat, is complete nonsense. The dozens of research, randomized controlled trials show that it's nonsense. And if we look at the leanest cultures in the world, they tend to consume more carbohydrates. So this is nonsense on every level. Let's see here. Mako says, you've been using the app for a few months. Thank you. Bulking since July of last year, but didn't really ramp shit up till about 3 months ago. I'm gaining about a pound a week, but look good in the mirror and hitting PRs. Should I stay the course at this rate? If you're hitting PRs and you like the way you look, keep the gain train going, I would say. If you're starting to get uncomfortable and you're using Carbon Diet Coach, what you can go in is you can change your goal and select the same goal, but just choose a lower rate of gain. And I would use current metabolism when you change, because we'll ask you that question. But yeah, if you're doing well, shit, don't rock the boat. Well, let's see here. Let's pick an Instagram question. How does it feel knowing you've had a positive impact on so many people? It's funny. Sometimes I have these days where I feel like nothing I've done has made a difference, just because of this onslaught, continuous tidal wave of misinformation. It's really hard, because it feels like sometimes I'm just shoveling shit uphill. But I actually did a post on Twitter today, and I asked people, I'm like, a lot of people will say to me, hey man, why do you debate with these people? Why do you argue with these people? Like, just put out good information. Like, the debates are, like, you're not helping anyone. And I've always felt like that by me debating people and challenging people, it gets people to think for themselves, hopefully, that are watching. So I just put out a question. I'm like, hey, has me debating people and calling people out, has that helped you guys, or do you find it useless? And like hundreds of tweets and comments at me saying, don't stop. I used to believe that carbs were bad, or I used to believe that, animal meat was toxic, and like all this kind of stuff. And like, you helped me. And, people, especially like with eating disorders, who, said that I changed their mindset around food and that sort of thing. And that people have gotten, so many great results, like with Carbon Diet Coach, our app, like just the sheer number of people using it. Like we're way over 30,000 members. And just the sheer volume of people we have, like, sending us positive feedback. Yeah, I guess how does it feel? It feels really good because it's kind of a goal. But, I'm very proud of what I've done and what we've done, our team. But we have big goals, and we want to turn those tens of thousands into millions in terms of people reached. And yeah, listen, I want to make money, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say I don't care about money. Of course I do. But I don't care about money as much as I care about helping people and doing the right thing and doing it the right way. And I could have sold out a long time ago for a lot of money for various things, and I never did. I believe that if we build something that helps a lot of people, that the money will take care of itself. And that's how I operate, and that's some of our core values. So yeah, it feels good. Norberto on Facebook says, how do I diet break with Carbon app? I want to use it. I've used it for 2 weeks and I love it. Thank you guys. So I'm looking over my camera because it's in the way of the questions. So if you want to do a diet break, very simple. All you got to do is go into change goal and then click maintenance and have it put you on maintenance for a week and then go back into your diet. Easy peasy. I'm going to answer one more from Instagram. Let's see. I'm just looking for a good question. John, thank you. Obese to Beast, that's John right there. He's amazing person. I think, John, you lost like hundreds of pounds, I want to say. Anyway, he says, I appreciate you always going hard on this. Thank you, buddy. Why are you so handsome? That's not something I hear very often, but thank you. I don't think I'm that much more handsome than most people out there. Actually, it's funny. Somebody asked me what my skincare. I was at the gym today, and I was training, and somebody asked me how old I was, and I said, well, I'm 39. It's hard to believe I've been in this game for like 2 decades, but here we are. And they're like, 39? You're like, I would have guessed, late 20s. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then somebody asked me what my skincare routine was, and I just pointed to the barbell. Like, I don't do anything special, but I think lifting and taking care of yourself, I've never been somebody who, I drink a little bit, like, on the weekends and, have a few beers with buddies, all that kind of stuff. But, I've never been somebody to go hard with drugs and alcohol. I usually get a good amount of sleep. I eat well. I train. It does wonders for your body. Let me see here. Carbon is just awesome. That's all. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Using Carbon Coach, loving it. Thank you so much. Sorry. A lot of really good feedback. Thank you guys. Jenna says, using Carbon in Europe, I enter most of the products manually. Is it more accurate to go by label or macro calories? So, first off, thank you for being a Carbon Diet Coach user. What I would say is that I think the macro calories are more, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. I would say that if you really like to be able to zero your stuff out and not see those extra calories on there, or if you're somebody who likes to just track calories and protein, do the macro calories. It'll be more accurate for you. But there's nothing wrong with doing label calories either. It'll still work. You'll just have these extra calories at the end of the day that don't match your macros. But if that doesn't bother you, it's no big deal. Would you go back on the Joe Rogan experience? Yes, absolutely. People ask me all the time, when am I going to go back on Joe Rogan? For those who don't know, I was on episode 1176. I think fame is one of those things that people don't quite get. They don't realize that there's levels to fame. It's not like I can just call up Joe Rogan and be like, hey bro, put me on the show. I'm I think people think when people are famous, I've got a little bit of that, just a little bit, and I think when people perceive you as somebody who's famous, they're like, oh, you just know all these other famous people. And that's not how it works. Somebody's like, oh, you should collab with The Rock. I'm like, yeah, I would love to collab with The Rock. Let me know if you can get me within 50 feet of him. You know what I mean? It's not quite that simple, right? So But I would love to go back on Joe Rogan's podcast. I had a great time the first time I did it. Obviously, it's a great platform to reach a lot of people. I would say the best thing y'all can do is like tell Joe, like post on his Instagram, post on his Twitter, tell him to have me back on, that sort of thing. And maybe I will one day. But if I don't, I appreciate the chance I got already. All right, those of you on BioLayne Instagram, I'm going to go off. I'm going to go to Carbon Diet Coach Instagram. Go follow Carbon Diet Coach and watch the live. I'm going to be answering a ton of you guys' questions. So appreciate y'all showing up, and I'll catch you over at Carbon Diet Coach. Facebook and YouTube, you guys don't go nowhere real quick. Let me just put this up so that it, for those that want to go back and watch it. One moment. I promise I'm going to get. Yo, Layne, what part of Indiana are you from? I'm from Northwest Indiana myself. So I'm from Southern Indiana. Hang on. What the heck? Sorry, guys. Okay. So I'm from Southern Indiana. I'm from Evansville originally. And yeah, grew up there for 18 years and then got the hell out. The Midwest has a lot of good people in it, but it just wasn't for me. All right. Thank you, Pauline. I hope you're doing well. You're one of our really good group members in Facebook. I appreciate it. I'm 6 months postpartum and didn't log in my menstrual cycle. Would that affect my weigh-in for Carbon app? It can. So if you're on your menstrual cycle, when you check in with Carbon, it'll ask you. And what will happen is if you click yes, it will widen the tolerable range of weight that you can either gain or not lose, depending on your goal, where it won't make an adjustment because it's likely that you have quite a bit of water retention from your menstrual cycle. So that's something to consider. So I would, if you're on your period, make sure you click yes that you're on your menstrual cycle. Instagram, what's going on, guys? Is there a possibility to get more information during check-ins? Yeah, we're working on making those a little bit more detailed, a little bit more coach-like. It says my body's reacting well. What does that mean? So when it says you're reacting well, what it means is that whatever weight you're gaining or losing on the app is within the range of what it is predicting for you. So if you are, like, for example, let's say you're like me, you're on a reverse diet, and the limit on your weight gain is 0.2 kilos per week, which is what mine is. So this week I checked in, and my weight gain, actually I lost a little bit of weight, was under 0.2 kilograms per week. So it said my body's reacting well because it is within the constraints of what the app is predicting it wants me to do. Is the bodybuilding coach book for competition in metrics or kilos? Kilos is metric. But yes, I believe it's in kilograms. Hi, Layne. Thank you so much for all your amazing content. I need you to post your stories from yesterday about the diet soda into your highlights so I can convince my husband I can drink diet soda. I'm actually going to do a post on that guy next week. If your cycle crosses 2 check-ins, would you check yes for both? If you are believe that you're having some water retention, yes, I would check yes for both. Does carb composition before bed matter for body composition? So, for example, if both examples are the same calories, whey and oats versus whey and sugary cereal, is there a difference in outcome? It's kind of a loaded question. I would say in general, no. Although the oats has a little bit more fiber, but in general, no, there's probably not a difference in body composition. It's just the cereal's not going to be as satiating as oats. Let me see here. Now, if you ate nothing but cereal all day versus nothing but oats, there might be a bigger difference because, fiber. But for that one meal, probably not. What is the main difference between Carbon Diet Coach and a company that shall not be named? So for those that don't know, I was involved in said company. I helped start it. My former business partners kicked me out of that company, which I'm grateful for because it enabled me to be free to write the books I've written and help create Carbon Diet Coach. So shout out to them for kicking me out of that company. In any case, I can't really answer that only from the perspective, I can't answer it honestly, only from the perspective that I don't know what their back end looks like. I haven't been involved with that company for 3.5 years. And so there's really no way for me to like compare. People have said in our group, and this is anecdotal, that our app is much more user-friendly, less buggy, those sorts of things. But I mean, hey, if you like Avatar, those who shall not be named, if you like them, I mean, use their stuff. Like, that's how business competition works. But I know that at least when I used their stuff, versus now me using Carbon Diet Coach, I can tell you that I personally like Carbon Diet Coach much better in terms of the coaching. It just functions a lot more smoothly. But again, that was 3.5 years ago. They may have improved it since then. I don't know. But yeah, I'm hoping that we will earn your business based on our reputation and our values. But if you try their app and you like their app better, then hey, that's how it goes. Main difference, Carbon Diet Coach is better. I like that. Okay, this is the question I get all the time. Why are my calories so low on carbon? I just started Carbon for fat loss. I'm 6'2", 230 pounds, and 22% body fat. Carbon has me eating about 2,200 calories, which seems low for someone my size. What are your thoughts? If it's low, so here's first thing. If it's truly too low for you, then you will lose weight more quickly than the app predicts, and it will take your calories up so long as you're compliant. So within a week or two, you're going to have your calories up anyway. But if it's also truly low, if it calculated low, it means you either clicked slow metabolism when you don't have one, you clicked an aggressive rate of loss. So like I get people all the time, they're like, well, I clicked slow metabolism and I maxed out the rate of loss, and I'm like relatively sedentary, and then they wonder why they get low calories. Well, like you can't draw blood from a stone. So just keep in mind that like if you're clicking slow metabolism and you're maxing out the rate of loss, like it's going to give you low calories. I mean, that's just how this shit works. So it's not, it's math. All right, let's see here. Let's go to the actual picture. Hi, a Carbon Diet Coach works great. I've lost 2 kilograms in 2 weeks. Currently, I'm fasting for Ramadan and eating less than the prescribed amount of. I'm eating good protein, but less carbs and fat than prescribed by the app. Is that okay? Well, what I would do is, if this is going to be hard if your goal is to gain muscle. You're going to have to click non-compliant because the problem is the app is not, if you click compliant, but you're actually eating less than what the app thinks you are, now it's going to have, the data is going to be inaccurate and it's not actually going to estimate your maintenance calories or your daily energy expenditure correctly. So what I would recommend is like, if you're on a fat loss diet, if you're having trouble hitting the calories, maybe, increase the rate of loss so that you can get lower calories and kind of even that out. So W Short says, does anyone use Carbon Diet Coach as an obese person? Does it work well for everyone or just competition peeps? We have more general users than we do, far more general public users than we do competition prep people. And there's been some people who have lost quite a bit of weight with the app. I think somebody has lost like 80 pounds and it's only been around for less than a year. Actually, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary on May 8th, which is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, so absolutely. There's obese people who have used it. There's people with a lot of weight who use it, have used it and had great results. This is a tough one. If I'm overweight and currently pregnant, can I continue to use Carbon Diet Coach or should I pause? So there's a lot of misinformation out there about pregnancy and diet, nutrition, whatnot. So normally we would say, well, you don't want to be dieting when you're pregnant, but there's actually some scientific research out there that shows that if you're obese and you lose weight during pregnancy, it's actually probably better for the baby. But I would just make sure that one, you are speaking with your OBGYN about this, okay? And two, you're going at it conservatively, all right? And if you feel like really fatigued or, that sort of thing, take a diet break, or do a reverse diet for a period of time. But as long as you're speaking to your OBGYN and talking to them about it, I think that, if you're overweight or obese, losing some body fat will actually help with the pregnancy and help your baby and help you in the long term. But talk to your OBGYN. They're the expert. I just want to say I've been using Carbon for almost a year. I joined in May of last year, and I'm in love with the entire app, ease of use, and everything I've learned this past year from your team. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Truly appreciate your support. Hey, guys, if you're enjoying this, I just want you to do one thing for me. Smash that like button, smash that heart button. Give me some of those because that actually helps the live video get seen by more people. We can get more people in here, get that good information out there, which is what we want to do. Holy crap. Catherine, down 72 pounds on Carbon Diet Coach from 371. You're a badass, mama. Awesome job. Let's see here. Can I use the app while intermittent fasting? Sure. You just can't fast for an entire day with the app. Should I change my goal if I have a deload week? Love the app and have gotten 4 others to start using it. Awesome. This question comes from Facebook. I don't think you need to change your goal if it's a deload week. If you are worried about the decrease in activity, you could always just be more active in other areas of your life. Maybe do a little more cardio, like low intensity cardio, or just plan more activities, go outside and walk and that sort of thing. Or if you were maybe in a gaining phase, what you could do is you could go to maintenance, that sort of thing. A few different options, but there's no right or wrong answer here. Peggy says, I love the app. A longtime competitor, couldn't lose the weight. Off-season stage weight, 135. Sorry, it's a little hard to follow. 150, started Carbon Diet. Reverse helped me tremendously. Now I can eat a variety of food. I'm back down to 13% body fat and 142 pounds. Thank you to you and your team. You are very welcome, Peggy. Thank you. Thank you for your business and your trust. Let's see here. Love the app and the support team. Thank you. During fat loss phases, it's challenging for me to hit protein targets with the level of carbs and fats that is recommended. Is there any issue with slight tweak in reducing the protein to 1 gram per pound lean body mass? I think that's fine. Joined Carbon since the beginning and now have my boyfriend and mom being coached by the app. That's awesome. I checked in last week and Carbon upped my calories by 300. 3 days later, I weighed in 5 pounds heavier. Just ignore. I don't really get worried about short-term weight fluctuations. I would just say make sure you're weighing in each day and not just one day out of the week, because that could have just been a really high fluctuation. So a great example is earlier this week, I was 93.3 kilos. Today I weighed in at 90.9. Okay, that is shit. That's 2.4 kilos difference. That's 5 pounds right there. 5 pounds. 5-pound difference right there. My average for the week was 92.3 kilos, I believe. So my average was kind of in between those two. And that's why I weigh in daily and take the average, because that is going to be much less prone to fluctuations. But no, I don't let one day determine what I'm going to do in the app. I take daily weights and I let the app do its thing. And hey, if the app gave you too many calories and your weight stays up, it's going to lower them and it's going to get it right. So just be patient. Technical app question: are you planning on adding a recipe generator versus having to manually build recipes? Obviously, we would love to have that option. Building that out is so incredibly technically difficult. I'm not saying it can't be done. I know it can be done. But we're working on making sure the app is rock solid as it is right now. But yeah, like for example, well, why can't you just make something to fill out the foods you eat? Well, what if you, like, for example, like what's going to happen is you have to categorize the foods first of all, because otherwise it's going to give you like, I don't know, like peanut butter with eggs and ketchup at breakfast. Like it's going to be this mishmash of weird stuff together. But then like, what if you want to eat breakfast for dinner? You know, like, so it can be done. It is certainly something that we would love to do in the future, but it's going to be a ways off. That is going to be very, very difficult. And the fact that the app adjusts things every week as well, that makes it very difficult as well, because now you've got to make like all these minor tweaks to portion sizes, but it affects all the macros, not just one. So it is something cool, but please keep in mind, like a lot of these things that you guys request as features, even like something that seems as simple as possible. Do I have any developers out there watching? I'm sure developers know. There is no simple change. Quiet, Siri. There's no simple change to anything out there. Everything is kind of a fuckery, to be honest. As a trainer and coach, I recommend your app to all my clients. Awesome. Thank you. Will there be an app for the workout builder? I'm not sure. Again, that sounds like, oh, it'd just be easy to build an app. No, Carbon Diet Coach took us 2 years to build. So just keep that in mind. The workout builder is mobile friendly. It works great we're currently redoing the workout builder. It's going to be way better. And it looks great on mobile, but to make an app is a whole different ballgame. All right, let's look in these question boxes. I struggle to hit my protein. Tips: yes, increase your portion sizes of protein-containing foods. Problem solved. I reached my goal in fat loss, went to maintenance. After 1 week, I gained 4 pounds. What should I do? You should trust the process. If you're using the app, if you gain 4 pounds, the app is going to target you to get back to maintenance. Trust the process. Don't freak out. I kind of doubt you gained 4 pounds too. I'm guessing you only weighed in like a couple times or once. Make sure you're weighing in daily so the app can take the average. Let's see. The app is the fucking bomb. Thank you, Jimmy. Hey, Layne, I'm currently 71 kilos, 14% body fat, late 40s. I don't like being so light, but I also don't like the 14% body fat. Should I start off at maintenance, refeed, or mass building? Well, if you're new to resistance training, I would start at maintenance, and you'll probably recomposition. But if you've already been resistance training for a while, I always say when in doubt, cut first. Because most people don't want to build muscle in a state where they already feel uncomfortable in their own body fat. But yeah, you also can get into, most people try to do both at the same time and do them terribly. I would pick one or the other, commit to it, do it, get to a point where you're comfortable, and then build. But if you're new to resistance training, then I would definitely go hard on resistance training and put it at maintenance in your recomposition. So if you weigh daily, do you enter the average at check-in with the app? No. You enter the weight for that day, and the app will average all the weights for that week with including that day. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, I just got to find something. 35 pounds down in 6 months. Awesome job. 20 pounds to go. Should I keep going or take a month or two off? If you feel good, if you don't feel like fatigued, you don't feel super, restricted, I would say keep rolling. Only from the perspective of you got the momentum. So I would keep going. Now, if you're feeling tired, you're feeling hungry, that sort of stuff. If you feel like you need a breather, then yeah, take a month or two at maintenance or something like that. You'd be fine. But yeah, it just depends. Started carbon January 15th at 200 pounds. As of April 12th, I'm 185, dieting down to a shredded 180. Thanks. Absolutely love the app. You guys rock. You rock, sir. Thank you. Let's see. Is 3 times a week full body workouts enough to keep muscle in a fat loss phase? Probably. The research shows that what it takes to maintain muscle is far less than what it takes to build it initially. So they've shown that like 1/3 or even like 1/9 of your original volume can be used to maintain muscle. So I think you'd be fine. Just make sure you're training with intensity. Does the app take into account hypothyroidism? I really want to give this a go. It doesn't need to take it into account, and here's why. So a lot of people get hung up on the initial measurement of the app or the initial macros for the app. And they're like, oh, it didn't get me right. So let's say you go into the app, and what you could do is you can select slow metabolism, okay, if you have hypothyroidism. But I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would click normal, most likely. Maybe it gives you calories that are too high. Okay, well, if you're on a fat loss phase, if the calories are too high, but you're compliant, when you check in, the app will sense that you haven't lost the weight that it wanted you to lose, and it will adjust your calories. So in that sense, because it can track your daily energy expenditure based on what you are predicted to lose versus what you actually lose, we don't have to have a metric to know if you have hypothyroidism because the app will correct for it anyway. Okay, so yes, absolutely, you have hypothyroidism. You can use the app, and there's tons of people who have used the app and had hypothyroidism and had results. If I weigh in daily, including my check-in day, then enter that weight again at check-in, does that mess anything up? Yes. Do not do that. Do not. So on your check-in day, don't click add weight. Just go check-in and put the weight in as part of your check-in. Natalie says, just want to add for the new users, the Facebook group is awesome for answering questions and helpful for support and encouragement. Awesome. Can you answer my question, please? I don't know if you've watched how many questions there are. Sometimes I miss them. Try it again. I am sorry. I'm not particularly avoiding your specific question. Carbon changed my boyfriend's whole thought process. Carbon changed my boyfriend's whole thought process of dieting. He flaunts it to all his coworkers that he can still have a serving of Oreo Thins every night and has lost 10 pounds. That's awesome. Thank you for keeping Carbon affordable. Love the app very much. Thank you for being a member. Doesn't matter how you distribute your carbohydrates in a day. Based on all the studies we currently have, no, it does not appear to matter. Let me explain why. So people say, well, you should have more carbs after your workout. Okay, well, you work out, your glycogen gets depleted, whatever. And if you are not necessarily depleted, but it gets, reduced, and then you eat carbs afterwards, and, it gets replenished. Okay, what if you had all your carbs, like what if you train at night and you have all your carbs in the morning, right? For body composition. Well, you'd probably store quite a bit of body fat in the morning, but because then you're, basically, carb free the rest of the day, you're going to burn more fat the rest of the day as that, wears off. So at the end of the day, it's going to be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. What is reverse dieting? Please explain. I would recommend going to my YouTube and searching reverse dieting. It is not something that can be answered in a short 5-minute or 30-second clip. Please go watch my dozens of videos and articles on reverse dieting. Thank you. Can I mark lightly active in activity if I stand most of the day and go for 1 to 3 20 to 40-minute walks throughout the day? Probably, yeah. What are your thoughts on taking pine pollen? Sounds stupid, but hey, I don't know. It's funny. I think you guys think, people ask me all the time, what do you think about this person's book? What do you think about this supplement? What do you think about this? What do you think about this fucking documentary? I'm flattered that you guys think I have the time and wherewithal to read every single nutrition book that comes out, look at every single supplement that comes out, and watch every single documentary that comes out. Sadly, I have a job. So unless I want to make that my entire job, I mostly just focus on what I'm doing and don't really pay attention to other people's stuff. The stuff that I make fun of or debate people on, that's all stuff that people send to me. I don't go seeking that stuff out. My wife and I are listening to this. She says I'm not allowed to eat Oreos. Should I trust her process? Why does she think you're not allowed to eat Oreos? Eat a serving of Oreos as part of your calories per day in a fat loss phase. I promise you'll lose weight. Like, what, people in the Stone Age? Any reason to track calories burned from fitness trackers? Are those ever accurate? No, they're not accurate. Now, so I have an Apple Watch, right? So today my Apple Watch says, sorry, 1 second. It says my resistance training session burned over 1,400 calories. You guys see that? Sorry, I can't get to the right angle because I have a desk here. Did I really burn 1,400 calories? Probably not. There was a recent meta-analysis of these wrist-worn devices done, and they find that they overestimate energy expenditure by 30 to 100% per day, depending on the device. So this is like people are like, well, I'm eating a calorie deficit, and I'm not losing weight. And they're like, so they're like, oh, I'm eating, this many calories, and I burn this many in my workout. No. Your watch told you burned that. What do you think is more likely, that you are defying the laws of physics or that you're likely having some tracking errors and you're eating more than you think and you're not burning as many calories as you think? Which one do you think is more likely? I'm going to go with the one that doesn't violate the first law of conservation of energy and mass and doesn't undo the laws of the universe. That's what I'm going to go with. But what I will say is that when you use one of these, what it is useful for is, for example, if I usually burn around 1,000 calories during a workout based on this, if I burned 1,500 today on this, then it is likely that I burned more calories than I did the previous day. I just don't know exactly how many. Please yell at me when I click non-compliant, or at least put an angry Layne emoji. That's funny. I feel like that could be very triggering for some people. I use it for step counting. Yeah, that's another, that's another thing you can use it for. It's still a useful tool, but LOL, I missed the part where she also said I have no self-control with Oreos. Thanks for the response. Oh, well, then there you go. All right. If my goal is to have abs, do I need a deficit? You need to resistance train, and at some point you need to reduce your body fat, and that is typically done through a deficit, yes. If I want to be in a deficit for 1 week only, should I utilize the custom macros or switch to fat loss and carb? And I don't want to mess with the algorithm. You can switch to fat loss. Yeah, I would just use a pretty aggressive fat loss for 1 week. But yeah, you can do that. It's still more data for the app, as long as you're compliant. If I work out at 5:30, should I eat something before? The research shows that eating something before is probably beneficial. If you can get it in by then and it doesn't, give you any kind of gastrointestinal distress. Is 158 pounds of lean body mass enough muscle to cut and have an impressive physique? I don't know. I don't know how tall you are. I haven't seen a picture of you. I've seen people who were 140 pounds who looked like they were 200 pounds. I've seen people who were 200 pounds and looked like they were $150. So it just depends. Sorry, I don't mean to be mad at you. I'm not mad at you, but it's just kind of a silly question. So yes, it's possible you have an impressive physique at 158 pounds. I didn't, but maybe you do. I don't know. I strength train 5 to 6 days a week, but still have lots of fat to lose. Does that mean I'm not building any muscle? Not necessarily, but just make sure you're training with the requisite intensity. Really pushing yourself. If you want to adapt, if you want to create adaptation, which is what hypertrophy is, or muscle growth, you have to stress the system. So I see a lot of people, and men are guilty of this, but especially women, who don't really push themselves in the gym. They'll resistance train. They'll come in and they'll do what they're comfortable with, but they never really push that progressive overload. Even Holly was like that. When she first moved over, she could do one plate on each side for squats for 10 reps, and she would just do that every workout. And then eventually I got her into powerlifting, and she was like, wow, I was not really pushing myself before. And my wife, put on so much lean body mass ever since she moved over. Now she doesn't even train her upper body because, apparently she's too jacked. So I'm like, must be nice. Layne spends his whole life trying to get too jacked. Holly lifts for a couple of years, gets too jacked. Could you help me understand repetitions in reserve, what intensity you need to feel to truly only have 1 to 2 RIR? So this is something where I do think, I think training to failure is both overused and underused. If you always train to failure, you're going to have too high of a fatigue to stimulus ratio to optimize your results. However, if you have never trained to failure, like true failure, you probably don't truly understand RIR or RPE. So RIR, repetitions in reserve, if you say I'm doing an RIR of 2 on squats, it means that I'm stopping 2 reps short of where I would fail. I know what failure feels like for me. So people will say, oh, RIR of 2, that seems easy. If you think an RIR of 2 on squats is easy, you've never gone to failure on squats. Period. I have done a set of squats to absolute failure is soul crushing. Soul crushing. I did a set one time, 480 pounds on squat for 14 reps. When I finished, I could not re-rack the weight because I couldn't stand up completely upright. And I had to have people come and help me rack the weight. And then I laid on the ground, breathing, trying to get my breath back. My heart rate was at 200 beats per minute. And I just laid there for 10 minutes trying to breathe. That was failure. If I tried to get back under that bar and do 480 pounds again, I might have gotten 2 or 3 reps. That's how utterly destroyed I was. And so you're telling me, people who say, oh, RIR of 2 or 3 is easy. You're telling me that if I would have stopped 2 reps shy of that feeling, then it would have been easy. You're out of your mind. I'm not saying you particularly, but people who say this. So, I do think training to failure sometimes is important because you need to understand what that feels like. You need to understand what that intensity feels like. I put up a picture of my back deadlifting the other day, and I was just thinking about all the bone-crushing, soul-sucking sessions I've had with heavy lifts. And I will tell you that to go to absolute failure on a squat or a deadlift, most people go to the point where it feels hard and they think that's failure. I can tell you that when I'm warming up, a great example of this is I hit 600 pounds on a squat for 5 reps back in 2015. 600 pounds for 5 reps. When I was warming up that day, just getting ready, my last warm up was 540 pounds for a single, just to get close. That felt heavy. So how did I do 600 for 5? It's because the mentality and focus it requires to take something like squats, deadlifts, or a big lift to failure. It's like I can't even describe it to you. It is like activating everything in your fucking soul. So I think that's important to do from time to time so you understand what that feels like. But people who say stopping a rep or 2 or 3 shy of failure is easy, they have never known hard training, period. Hopefully that makes sense and answer your question. Do you ever panic when your heart rate goes up that high? No. How did you get so strong on squats? I'm going to put up a post tomorrow on my Instagram. It's going to talk about that. But I didn't quit. That's how I got so strong. I didn't quit. I've been training for 23 years now, consistently. And tomorrow I'm going to put up a picture of my legs after almost 4 years of training. My legs look like chicken legs, even after 4 years of training. But I didn't quit. I kept going. People told me I had shitty genetics for bodybuilding, shitty genetics for powerlifting. I had been training 4 years and could barely squat 315. Okay? Now, I'm not knocking 315 because that's a good lift for a lot of people out there. But for my size, I could bench 315 and I couldn't hardly squat 315. I kept at it over and over and over and over and over, year after year after year. And I just put it in my mind, maybe I don't have good genetics. Maybe my legs will always be crappy. But I'm going to work hard for a decade. I'm going to work my ass off for a decade. I made this promise to myself. And if my legs are still small at the end of that time, then you know what? Maybe this wasn't the sport for me. And you know what? A funny thing happened. After 10 years of training my ass off, people started commenting about how good my genetics were. Oh, did my genetics change in 10 years? No, what changed is the volume of work I put in. How many of you, what could you do? I'm not just talking about training, I'm talking about life now. What could you do if you committed to 10 fucking years of something with no promise or guarantee that it would work out, but you just did it anyway? There was no promise. There was no guarantee that I was going to get to, a world record squat, which I hit almost 17 years after I started training. 17 years. Just reemphasizing that for you guys. 17 years. There was no guarantee of that. The work, day after day after day after day after day, no matter the setbacks, no matter the obstacles, no matter what people told me, no matter how I felt, no matter how frustrated I was, there was tears, there was injuries, there was pain, but I kept going. And so that 315-pound squat at 20 years old, by the time I was 24, turned into a 400-pound squat. And then by the time I was 27, turned into a 500-pound squat. And then by the time I was 30, turned into a 600-pound squat. And then at 30, I want to say 33 years old, hang on, gotta do some math. 34 years old. No, 33 years old. I would have been 33 in, it's killing me. No, I would have been 33 in 2015. At 33 years old in 2015, I squatted 668 pounds, which was the IPF world record in my weight class at the time. I squatted 668 pounds at a body weight of under 202 pounds, drug-free. Now, people see that and they say, wow, they say, well, steroids, or they say genetics or whatever. Steroids and genetics don't get you in the gym every fucking day for 17 years when people told you that you had crappy genetics for legs and you should quit. How many of you could do something amazing if you committed that kind of time for your life? If you committed to the process. Now, I'm not saying people are like, man, you're so motivated all the time. No, I'm not. I'm not. That's the secret. That's the secret. I have been so frustrated at points. I have been in tears at points. I tore this pec in 2008, completely away. Inside the muscle. Thought my lifting career was over because the doctor told me that surgery is very difficult. We're not sure it's going to work. I've herniated multiple discs in my back. I've bulged multiple discs in my back. I've herniated 2 discs in my neck. I've torn a muscle in my hip. I've partially torn this pec. I've torn a muscle in my adductor. Okay? 23 years and I'm still here. And people wonder why they can't get results. It's because you're not, the magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding. That's the magic. That's it. Most people overestimate what they can do in a few weeks, and they drastically underestimate what they can do over a few years. Okay, we got one on YouTube I gotta bring up. Bro, we get it. You're such a drama queen. I don't really care what you think, man. I'm passionate about this shit. And this is the stuff that people need to hear. They need to hear that it's not something that's just going to happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen next week. It's not something that's going to happen next month. It's going to take years and years and years and years of work. Why do you always mention all the injuries you've had over the years? Because that's setbacks, bro. That shit's fucking hard to get over. That stuff is so hard. You don't hear about other people talk about injuries. You know why you don't hear about other lifters talk about injuries? I'll tell you why. Here's why you don't hear other lifters talk about their injuries. It's because when you talk about your injuries, you have about 100 people that will come on your shit and tell you why you got injured and why it was because you were doing XYZ wrong. And people just don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to show you the low points. I'll show you my fucking low points because I don't care. Because I know that's going to help somebody who's going through the same fucking thing. So, anyways, what I'm saying is the magic is in the work that you're avoiding. Commit to the work. Here's the rub. You have to commit to the work with no guarantee of an outcome. But if you don't do the work, I guarantee you will not have the outcome. And there's the rub. So when you feel frustrated, when you feel down, when you feel like you failed, keep in mind, I've been in such a position where I thought there was no way I'd ever be lifting pain-free again. And here I am. So many times it's happened. If you refuse to quit, there are no failures. There's only setbacks. That's it. You don't need to be motivated every day. You just put it in your mind that this is what you do. I'm not motivated every day I go lift. I'm not motivated every day I, track my macros. But I just continue to do it because that is what's called discipline, because that's what's going to get shit done. All right, guys. Love you all very much. Even the ones who criticize me, that's fine. You're welcome to your opinion. I am a little bit of a drama queen. Hey, it's theater, man. It's theater. I'm trying to fire people up here, baby. I'm not a drama queen. I'm passionate, baby. I love this stuff. I love it. So, hope you all have a great weekend. If you're not on Carbon Diet Coach, go to the link in our bio, or if you're on Facebook or Instagram, I don't know if there's some description, but just go to Carbon Diet Coach, join carbon.com or the App Store or Google Play, wherever. We're on both of them. Go download the app. Over 32,000 members. We have some great success stories. We can't wait to share them with you guys. Love y'all. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Go kick some ass. Okay.